The Honourable Member for Lac St. Anne Parkland.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. It's been a couple long nights here. I hate to say it, I'm a little bit tired, and when I get a little bit tired, I tend to hear things wrong, and I try to get some coffee, and I do that, and then I try to wake up. Well, there's a couple things that caught my attention, and I'm looking around the room, and I think my colleagues are hearing it too. It's again, we're down the rabbit hole or through the looking glass or wherever we're at, and we're going back through the wayback machine. And all of a sudden, it's fairy tales and pixie dust. Everything was working out great. I'm hearing the member from Gold Bar actually taking credit for the program they had where they're getting the folks from Ontario to come out and change light bulbs and shower heads and saying, well, we're creating jobs. Well, we created jobs with it, so it was a good program. We were doing a lot of good stuff. We're talking about, job losses, and we're talking about red tape. I've started calling it orange tape because honestly, there are so many things out there and so many reasons. We had the member from Highwood up here, last night speaking about why he was here. All these issues that took place in the economy, why we actually showed up, gave up what we were normally doing to become politicians. It wasn't because of the fairy tales and pixie dust ride. Everything was sunshines and lollipops. Quite contrary. 180,000 people went out to work. You shut down a bunch of coal mines. You changed regulations where I'm sitting up to the Hutterite colony and talking about what it took to produce eggs. Eggs, of all things. As the gentleman put it, the boss of the farm up there, Mike, up at the Rockford colony, he goes, same chicken, same egg. Nothing has changed in my barn. But you know what has changed, Madam Speaker? The amount of regulation that I have to try to do this. We used to be able to take care of it with one person, part-time, kind of doing that. He says, now we've got a $45,000 a year person to take care of all the documentation required for, you guessed it, to produce the same darn egg. But what did increase? The amount of inspectors that came out. This is the compounding red tape of what we call red tape, but for your benefit from the gentleman from Calgary, I'm going to start calling it orange tape. So then they'll see what they actually did. I had, no word of a lie, a group out from Sherwood Park, they're number 2 to stand deck in environmental in consulting. So normally these are the folks, oh, and by the way, they used to work for the government. These are the guys that retired, packaged out, started their own business about 15, 20 years ago. They're number 2, Millennium Environmental Services. So I'm going around campaigning, and all of a sudden my network is coming out and telling me all the issues and everything that's going sideways. It wasn't just pipelines. No, that would have been too easy. It was through every flipping industry that they touched. So when it comes down to the environmental side of things, they were shutting down coal. Millennium has a client up in Grand Cache. They've got metallurgical coal. So here's the irony of it, Madam Speaker. They're going out spending money on infrastructure, smearing dirt and ditches, putting these little signs up there saying we're extending culverts. They didn't take care of the road maintenance. They changed all that type of things. They didn't do tons of capital projects. They weren't planning out in advance. Here's how ironic it gets. And they're going to start heckling because, this is my version of history, not the sunshine fail or fairy dust and pixie dust like they like to somehow see. They actually were against the coal mine. It was already in the hopper to get approved. Now, Millennium Environmental Services, they get paid as a consultant to try to get people through the process. They actually try to get things approved. If anyone would benefit from a convoluted, backwards type system that was the hardest to get through, it would be a consultant who gets paid money for it. But you know what, Madam Speaker? It was even difficult for them. And I asked them, what has changed? What changed since you used to be part of those departments? It was culture. The culture had changed. They used to be under the direction to get things approved, to actually approve things and make sure the industry did it right. And now the culture is, stop it. Make them ask 2 or 3 times. Get them to spend a bunch of money. So here's the irony. Again, coming back to Grand Cache. Money's being spent on that highway project going up there. At the same time, they're trying to shut down the coal mine of which the highway was being built. And what happened was 6 months to get your energy minister in there to get a meeting with them. I'm sorry.
Comments through the chair.
You're right, I'm sorry. So, Madam Speaker, it took them 6 months to actually get the then energy minister to the table to explain to them that there was a difference between thermal coal and metallurgical coal. They had to call it steel coal so they can understand why they were shutting it down, because they were fixated on shutting down Keephills. This is the type of stuff that was taking place. This was taking place. They were, I don't know, really good at protesting. They actually hired a guy from the Sierra Club or something like that. I'm not sure who that fellow was, but he ended up jumping on his own sword before we could get to him. Because that was the thing. They were really good at stopping projects. They were really good at doing that consultation. I mean, you just name it. There was one thing after another. One thing after another, Madam Speaker. We got criticized in here for going after red tape. when it takes you 10 years to get a project approved, and you're losing project certainty because nobody knows what the heck we're doing because of red tape.